I mean, if Kyle is Paul's prima facie evidence that my stream damages souls, then it's incumbent on Paul to provide quotes and timestamps. But Paul feels no obligation to produce any evidence for the horrible things he says about people. Like, I'd be ashamed to conduct myself that way. If it was pointed out to me that I was conducting myself that way, I'd go, "Oh, that is so embarrassing. I was so wrong. Let me make amends." But to make these public proclamations like Paul does from a place of contempt prior to investigation, to me, is just not honorable. And this idea that Paul writes that I treat people like objects, I invite them on to make my show good, and then kick them out capriciously. I think what's going on here is what Stephen Pressfield talks about in his excellent book, The War of Art. The seeming detachment of the professional, the cold-blooded character to his demeanor, is a compensating device to keep him from loving the game so much that he freezes in action. Yeah, when people are professional about how they do their shows, they don't invite people back who are not professional, or they don't invite people back who don't abide by certain standards. If you stand for something, then you can't bring people back who urinate on what you stand for. I mean, and this idea that just allowing Kyle to speak on my show, I mean, he would speak on my show for maybe some total of about 10 minutes, 15 minutes at a time. And this, to Paul, is going to legitimate in people's minds all sorts of ideas about Jews. That's insane. That I can't have, one Jew, on my show giving his perspective, because then it's going to legitimate in people's minds the Jews are this or that. I mean, Paul says, I treat people like objects. And then he admits he's never watched me, except for one video. He admits he knows nothing about what goes on here. But what he hears from people, this 8-year-old gossipy girl behavior, people who don't like me, that's enough for him, and to him, that's fact. No further investigation needed. If Paul spoke to someone like Ricardo, he would know that Ricardo, over the past 2 years, often pushed me to bring on all sorts of edgelords onto the show because they are often entertaining. But that's not the kind of show that I do. In the last 2 years, I've not done that kind of show. 99% of the time, I've knocked back these proposed guests.